जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरवनचारी यमुना तीरवनचारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय वृंदावन धाम वृंदावन धाम जय राधे श्याम। निताय गौरा हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल। जय जय प्रभुपाद गोपाल जय प्रभुपाद। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद। जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Is it possible to get the second volume of the 4th canto? Or shall I just read from my phone? I need chapter 22. Okay. Thank God for the iPhone. Okay, so today, in the next few days, we'll be discussing Prithu Maharaj. The title we've been given is the Prithu Principle. So as we know, Krishna has many, many Shaktis, and different incarnations and avatars are representing different Shaktis of Krishna. So Prithu Maharaj is said to be the personification of Palana Shakti, the protective potency of Krishna. And so in the Bhagavatam there are many, many examples of incredible leadership. But of all the examples of leadership, Prithu Maharaj really shines through as the most prominent. So today we will be beginning by talking about how a leader is a visionary. Leadership means you have to have a vision. Okay, so we're reading from Canto number 4, chapter number 22, entitled Prithu Maharaj's Meeting with the Kumaras. So 4:22:58. I don't know if you have a phone, then you can follow along. I guess we don't have a board, so then I will just read the verse and then we'll do the word for word together. So this is 4:22:58. Varshati smayatha kamam parjanya iva tarpayan samudra iva durbodha satvena chalaradiva. Varshati smayatha kamam parjanya iva tarpayan samudra iva durbodha satvena chalaradiva. Varshati smayatha kamam parjanya iva tarpayan samudra iva durbodha satvena chalaradiva. So this is very, very beautiful verse. What's happening is that Maitreya is having a conversation with Vidura. This is one of the longest conversations in the Bhagavatam, perhaps the longest. And Maitreya has narrated everything to Vidura about the glories of Prithu Maharaj. And now, right at the end of the pastime, what Maitreya is doing is he's kind of rounding it up by giving the final eulogy of how Prithu Maharaj was so amazing. And so in these verses, they're very short, they're very powerful, and he's basically saying why Prithu Maharaj was such an amazing leader. So please repeat after me. Varshati, pouring. Sma, used to. Yatha kamam, as much as one can desire. Parajanya, water. Iva, like. Tarpayan, pleasing. Samudra, the sea. Iva, likened. Durbodha, not understandable. Satvena, by existential position. Achala, the hills. Rativa, like the king of. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Just as the rainfall satisfies everyone's desires, Maharaj Prithu used to satisfy everyone. He was just like the sea in that nobody could understand his depths. And he was like Meru, the king of hills, in the fixity of his purpose. Purport. Maharaj Prithu used to distribute his mercy to suffering humanity, and it was like rainfall after excessive heat. The ocean is wide and expansive, and it is very difficult to measure its length and breadth. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj was so deep and grave that no one could fathom his purposes. The hill known as Meru is fixed in the universe as a universal pivot, and no one can move it an inch from its position. Similarly, no one could ever dissuade Maharaj Prithu when he was determined. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Excuse me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, true eloquence is essential truth spoken concisely. So in this one verse, if you wanted to sum up what is a leader, everything is described there. First thing is that just like the rainfall satisfies everyone, the rainfall is selfless. A leader must be selfless. If you're selfish, forget about being a leader. Real leadership means you're only in it to serve others. Quality number one. Second thing is, if you want to be a leader, you have to be like the hill Meru. You have to be fixed. You have to be strong, because there's going to be challenge. There's going to be difficulty. There are going to be people who are not going to necessarily cooperate with you. Strong. Second quality, you have to have strength. And third quality, just like the ocean is so deep that someone cannot measure its length and breadth, similarly, a leader must be spiritually deep. You have to be ahead of the game. You have to see what other people don't see. A spiritual leader must be a visionary, and that is what we're talking about today. But just to let you know, the Bhagavatam is very, very strategic. You know, sometimes we read a book like the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam and we think it's like going all over the place. Like, why is he talking about this and then this? But did you know, if you look very closely, the Bhagavatam is very, very strategic. Because what happens at the end of the third canto is that Kapila Dev begins to instruct his mother, who is Devahuti, yes. And he instructs her in many, many things, but it's said that one of the most powerful things that he instructs her in is the science of devotional service, and how devotional service can be in the three modes of material nature. So he said, when devotional service is done in an aggressive way, an angry way, a violent way, envious way towards others, then it's devotional service in the mode of ignorance. He says when devotional service is done for fame, for power, for some material gain, then it's devotional service in the mode of passion. And he says when devotional service is done for purification, out of duty, for the purpose of coming closer to God, then it's devotional service in the mode of goodness. So this is described at the end of canto number 3. So then what happens in canto number 4, Sridhar Swami explains this in Bhavartha Deepika, that the first pastime in canto number 4 is all about devotional service in the mode of ignorance. Because what's the first pastime that appears in the 4th canto? Anyone remember? Daksha. Daksha becomes very, very angry at Lord Shiva, feeling himself not to be respected, and then he launches a variety of curses at Shiva. Sridhar Swami says this is an example, living example now. I told you, I gave you the definition, now I give you the living example. Daksha, devotional service in ignorance. Then the second pastime in the 4th canto, Sridhar Swami says, demonstrates devotional service in the mode of passion. What's the second pastime which appears in the 4th canto? Dhruva. Sthana bilasi tapasi stitoham. I had an abhilas, a desire that I wanted a kingdom greater than my great-grandfather. Your great-grandfather is Brahma. Yes, I want something bigger than him. And therefore, devotional service in the mode of passion, someone who wants something. And then, devotional service in the mode of goodness. The third major pastime in the 4th canto is the pastime of who? Prithu. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj demonstrates devotional service in the mode of goodness, how to actually serve in the proper mood. And therefore, the Bhagavatam is very, very strategic. What the Bhagavatam will do is it will give you tattva, it will tell you the truth. But then what it will do is it will give you charitra, it will give you a pastime which embodies that truth. But then what it will also give you is stotra. Stotra means the prayers of those who imbibe that mood within their hearts. And when you learn tattva, charitra, and stotra, then it's the perfect combination to instill that thing within your own heart. And this is why Puranas are so powerful, because what they do is they don't just instruct, but what they do is they also depict and they also invoke emotion. They describe philosophy, they depict through pastime, and then they invoke through prayer. And therefore it's very, very powerful to read. This is why we are reading Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. We must read very nicely. One time I was giving Bhagavatam class and devotee said, "Oh, that was a wonderful class you gave." I said, "What did you like about it?" He said, "You ended on time." I said, okay, now I know what the measure of a good class is. I'll bear it in mind next time to not go over time. But we should relish. Muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. Why do you want to go anywhere else? Oh friends, just bathe in the Bhagavatam. Here you learn everything. Here you find another world to live in. So we're reading the Bhagavatam in this way. And what's here we're focusing on today is how Prithu Maharaj was an ideal leader. And an ideal leader means you have to have vision. Now, when we're going to be in these classes talking about Prithu Maharaj and leadership, I don't want you to think of the leadership as just the temple leadership. Yeah, that was a good class for that person. Because actually we're all leaders. If you're a mother, you're a leader. If you're in charge of a service in the temple, you're a leader. If someone comes to you for advice, you're a leader. Because people are looking to you for vision. And therefore, when we're hearing all of this, we should understand we are all leaders. And perhaps the most important thing that a leader needs to have is a leader needs to have vision. If the leader doesn't know where they're going, if the leader is not far-sighted, then how much can they help those people who are looking to them for help? So, Prithu Maharaj, it said, Samudra iva durbodha. He was more deep than the ocean. To the extent that you are deep in your own thinking, then through your eyes you will have greater vision and sight of the world around you. If you're very, very shallow inside, then you will be very, very short-sighted outside. But if you are samudra, iva durbodha, if you are deep like Prithu Maharaj inside in your thinking, then when you look at the world outside, you will see things that nobody else can see. You will be able to vision things that nobody else can vision. And therefore the greatest leaders are very, very deep, and therefore they have incredible vision. Just like one time Srila Prabhupada, he sent, I think it was Mukunda Maharaj, he sent him to the bank in London to deposit some money. And when he came back, Prabhupada said, "Did the cashier give you the receipt?" Mukunda Maharaj said, "No, he didn't give me a receipt." Prabhupada said, "No receipt?" He said, "No." Prabhupada said, "This signifies the end of the British Empire." Really? I mean, he just didn't give me the receipt. Prabhupada said, "This signifies the end of the British Empire." He said, because the British, they were so powerful, even though they were in small number, they were able to conquer so many places in the world. Why? Organization and intelligence. But he said, now I can see in their dealings that the bank person didn't give you a receipt. It means they are becoming very slack in their administration. And slack in administration means organization and intelligence is waning. And when that goes, it means it will signify the end of their power in the world. So Prabhupada made the link. It was like, wow, okay, I never thought of it like that. So Prabhupada was a visionary. He could see things others couldn't see. Like, for example, one time he was walking in Russell Square and he stopped at the tree. You know, Prabhupada would stop and boom, he'd put his cane in the ground. And then he looked down and he said, and everyone looked down, so it was full of bird droppings. So Prabhupada was looking at the bird droppings and he said, "What is the meaning of this?" I was like, I don't know how many deep lessons you can find in bird droppings. So Prabhupada said, "What is the meaning of this?" So no one could see, like we're just seeing bird droppings. Prabhupada said, no, there's a deep meaning. Really? In bird droppings? Anyone know what it was? Even the birds get attached to their tree. Because Prabhupada said, look, just see, they're sitting here so long. So many droppings means long time. They must be sitting here. They could fly to any tree, but they're all sitting here just downloading. Prabhupada said, even the bird gets attached to the tree. See, it's so easy to get attached. I noticed even in the Hare Krishna temple, everyone has their spot where they stand in the arti time. And everyone has their spot in the Bhagavatam class and in japa time. We all. It's very easy to become attached. So Prabhupada was a visionary. This is what it means. You can see things that other people can't see. And Prabhupada was also a visionary because he was envisioning the future of Mahaprabhu's movement. He said that Prabhupada was a grihasta, and the sannyasis from the Gaudiya Math and the brahmacharis, they would often come to his home to hold satsang. So Prabhupada was working in the pharmacist, and then he would come back in the evening and the satsang would be going on. But Prabhupada explains that they would use the top floor to have their katha, and on the ground floor his wife would be cooking, and therefore Srila Prabhupada still had rounds that he wanted to chant. So while the katha was going on, Prabhupada would sit on the stairs and chant. And he said one time they all came out of the class, so they were all walking down the stairs. Srila Prabhupada was there at that time, Abhay. And then one of the final sannyasis came out, and Prabhupada said, "What were you discussing today?" So they said, "We were discussing Chaitanya Bhagavat, and we were discussing Mahaprabhu's prediction. Prithivite ache yata nagara digram, sarvatra prachara hoibe maranam." We were discussing that Mahaprabhu has predicted that this movement will go everywhere. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. So this sannyasi said, we were discussing. So he's saying, we have no idea. How will this movement spread across the lands? Even now outside of Bengal, nobody knows about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada stood up and he looked at this devotee and he said, "But it's said in Chaitanya Bhagavat, it will happen." The devotee said, "Yes, we were discussing, but we can't fathom how this will ever happen." Then Prabhupada walked down one step and he looked at the devotee and he said, some fool who has full faith in this prediction of Sriman Mahaprabhu and the desire of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, some fool, he will fulfill it. And then Prabhupada walked down one more step and he looked at the person and he said, "But it won't be you." Because you don't have faith, you don't have the vision. Only one who has the vision can manifest the dream. No vision, no dreams. So a leader has to have vision, you see. Because a leader means someone who can inspire others. And you can't inspire others if you don't have a vision. And some type of leaders, they tell people what to do. A better type of leader explains to people what to do. But the best leader inspires people what to do, and they become so inspired that they figure it out themselves. That is leadership. And therefore Prabhupada was just so inspirational. Prabhupada would just stop in a train in India with Western disciples, and as the train stopped, and all the vendors were chai, like they all come in at the station. Then Prabhupada would look out at the train station and he'd say, "Interesting, do we have a temple here?" "No, Prabhupada, we don't have a temple." And then he'd just look across at one of his Western disciples. "Now you leave and start a temple here." "A temple in India? How will I do that?" But they were so inspired by Prabhupada that they figured it out. Because a leader has such an amazing vision that people are just inspired. And therefore they'll go to any lengths to fulfill it. That's real leadership. See, people follow people for different reasons. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, even the Supreme Lord, the lowest type of person worships the Lord out of bhaya, fear. Someone higher worships God out of asha, they have some desire. Someone higher worships God out of kartavya, duty. But the highest one worships God out of prema, or love. But if you think about it, it's the same thing with leaders. Some leaders we follow bhaya, out of fear. Okay, I better cooperate with this person, otherwise he's going to make my life hard, Okay, yes, you are very good. In the mind you're thinking, my God, I have to put up with this person, Some leaders we follow just out of fear. Better leaders we follow because we want something. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I'll help you, you make sure you help me. That's a higher type. Then some leaders, you're not necessarily fully inspired by them, but you have gratitude for them. They have done so much. They've made a sacrifice. They have given so much time and energy, so I should follow them. That's very good. But even then, higher than that is when you find a leader who's so inspirational that you just follow them from your heart. This is real leadership. Leadership is not when people follow you out of fear. If you're a leader and people are simply following you out of fear, you will not be able to sustain. There's a joke that when the sergeant used to come in, everyone was so fearful of him that they would just immediately salute. So one time they were in the army ranks and there was a fire. So everyone was jumping out, and then all the soldiers were holding the net. And then the sergeant jumped out from the top, and as he was coming down, he died. Too much respect out of fear will kill you. So if a leader is going around and everyone is following them just out of fear, but there's no heart, that kind of leadership cannot last. It will break after some time. So real leadership means you have to be inspired, and then you can inspire others. So vision means 5 things. First thing is a leader has to be excited. Second thing is a leader has to be expanding. Third thing is a leader has to be exemplary. Fourth thing is that a leader has to be empowering. And fifth thing is that a leader has to be enduring. So I'll explain one by one. And remember, all of you are leaders. Doesn't matter if you're a temple leader or family leader or leader of your friends, whatever. Everyone's a leader. First thing is you have to be excited. If there's nothing you're excited about, if there's nothing you're inspired about, if there's nothing that really is moving your heart, how will you be able to move anyone else's heart? So Srila Prabhupada was inspired. When he came to America, he had a vision, he was inspired, he was excited. When he was in that New York park, then that Mr. Rubin came to him and he said, "What are you doing? Which planet did you drop from? Who are you? Why are you here?" Prabhupada said, "I'm here to spread the message of Krishna." He said, "But you're just some old man sitting in a bench." Prabhupada said, "There are books, there are temples, there's a worldwide movement. Only time is separating us from them." So Prabhupada already had the vision, he was excited, he was enthused. A leader has to be more excited and enthused than anyone else. Otherwise, how will you be able to move anyone else's heart? So the first thing is that a leader must be excited. They must have a vision. But then the second thing is that a leader is expanding. They're so excited about their vision, they're so excited about what they want to do, that is always expanding. And therefore Srila Prabhupada's vision was always expanding. Prabhupada said, "My disease is that I can't think small. I always think big." Bhagavat Prabhu says once they were in Mayapur with Prabhupada, this is in the very early days, they had no idea, it was just a swamp. And then one day Prabhupada said, "I want you to buy all the land in Mayapur." I was thinking, like, buy all the land in Mayapur? We don't even know what to do with this land. Prabhupada said, "I want you to buy all the land in Mayapur." Then Prabhupada walked a little further. He said, "And then I want you to apply to the Indian government for independence. And we should establish the country of Mayapur." We're just trying to get a temple up here. Like, Prabhupada wants to make a country. Prabhupada said, yes, we will have the country of Mayapur. And then we will have our own currency. 2 Chaitanyas, 5 Chaitanyas. And then we will have ambassadors of the country of Mayapur. Just see, such an expansive vision. Devotees were satisfied with something. Srila Prabhupada was thinking something far bigger. Once Prabhupada was in a car, they were going by Buckingham Palace in London. And one of the devotees, as they were going past the palace, he said, Prabhupada, you see the gods, one of the Queen's gods, he's become a devotee. One of the Queen's god has become a devotee. So he was very inspired. So he looked at Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, oh? And what about the Queen? No, but Prabhupada, the Queen's God, yeah, that's okay. But what about the Queen? We want the Queen. We want to make the Queen a devotee. That's an expansive vision. Prabhupada was always thinking big. When Prabhupada went to Russia, there was no one. But he had a vision. And now, where is Krishna consciousness biggest outside of India? Russia. When Prabhupada went Juhu, the devotees were like, Prabhupada, we need to get out of here. Prabhupada was saying, no, I made a promise to Radha Ras Bihari that I'd build a temple for them here. So I must. How can I give up my word? So all the devotees wanted to escape Juhu. When all the complications were going on, they were saying, Prabhupada, is Krishna's arrangement, let's just get out of here. Prabhupada said, no. And do you know now, in the whole of ISKCON, our most expensive property in the whole world is where? Juhu. Bollywood Central. All the stars are there. Prabhupada had the vision. No one else could see, but Prabhupada had the vision. When Prabhupada was in 26 Second Avenue in 1966, he was spinning a globe. He was with some few hippies, and then he incorporated the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It was like, International Society? We're just some guys in a storefront in New York. And indeed, it became an international society because Prabhupada had a vision. He was excited, but it was a vision which was expanding. Leader means always looking at the next big thing. Never rest. Third thing is a leader is exemplary. They have a vision. The vision is always expanding, but they live the vision. In their thoughts, in their words, in their deeds, they show that they completely believe in this, that they've sold out their life and heart to achieving this. And that kind of leader is inspirational. And Prabhupada did that. He was showing how in his every activity, he was only thinking how to fulfill the vision that he had. Morning to night, Prabhupada was just giving all of his energy, leaving no stone unturned, willing to go anywhere, willing to do anything, willing to make any sacrifice. One time Prabhupada was in his room and an invitation came to go to Hawaii. And the devotee said, Prabhupada, in Hawaii you can get mangoes, the king of fruits. So they were trying to allure Prabhupada. Yes, you can write, it's very nice. So Prabhupada was saying, yes, maybe I'll go to Hawaii. And then straight after, an invitation came to go to the Eastern Bloc. So you weigh it up. Russia or Hawaii, take your pick. Prabhupada said, I will go to Russia because preaching Krishna consciousness is sweeter than the sweetest mango. He was willing to go anywhere. So exemplary, when people see that you walk the talk, when people see that your example reflects your precept, when people see that you actually practice what you preach, then people will be moved. And therefore, a leader is one who embodies their vision through their thought, word and act. And then a leader empowers. They have a vision, it's always expanding, they live that vision in their life, but then they're so powerful that they can implant and empower others to want to follow that vision. Once there were two prime ministers, William Gladstone and Benjamin Disraeli. So they said, when you went into the room with Gladstone, after you came out of the room, you thought, that's the smartest person I've ever met. But they said, when you went into the room with Disraeli, and then you came out, your thought was, that's the smartest person I've ever met, and I can also be as smart as them. And they said, that's the difference between a good leader and a great leader. A good leader, you look at them and you think they're amazing. A great leader, you look at them and then by spending time with them, you think I can also be amazing. Because great leaders are empowering. They don't just have a vision, but they instill that vision within you, and then they inspire you to be part of the adventure and awaken all your talents and abilities to be part of that incredible adventure. So that empowerment to be able to communicate a vision to others, this is what real leadership is. And the final thing is that a leader has to be enduring. They have to be willing to make any sacrifice for the vision. They have to be willing to undergo any hardship for the vision. They have to be willing to face any obstacle for the vision. Prabhupada said, wherever I was in the world, I was always attacked. He said, when I was in Vrindavan, the Goswamis attacked me. When I went to Mayapur, my godbrothers attacked me. When I went to Mumbai, the municipality attacked me. And I went to the West, the deprogrammers attacked me. Prabhupada said, factually, wherever I went in this world, people attacked me. But Prabhupada said, I don't care. I'm not giving up. In fact, when they attack me, I get more inspiration. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if you don't get opposition, it means you're not doing anything. When you try to do something, then definitely there will be some opposition. And therefore a leader, they're willing to do anything for their vision. They're willing to endure so many things. They're willing to take so many risks. They say a fearless person is not someone who doesn't have fears. A fearless person is one who has such a great purpose that in the vision of that purpose they forget their fears. So this is what a leader is, to be a visionary. And to be a visionary means, number one, you have to be excited. You have to have a vision. Number two, expanding. That vision is so amazing that it's always growing. Number three, exemplary. When people look at you, they see you're living your vision. Number four, not just that you're living your vision, but empowering. You're able to communicate and instill that vision within others. And number five, you're enduring. You're willing to take the time to stay, to give the effort, to really make this vision manifest. We see that in our movement, that some devotees, they just came to one place and they just stayed there and they endured all the difficulties. And because of that endurance, so many amazing things came about, so many amazing temples. So Prithu Maharaj was a real visionary. He came in at a time when there was adversity, because Vena had created incredible disruption in the whole of the land. But Prithu Maharaj was a visionary, so he knew the vision of how to turn the whole thing around, how to turn a difficult situation around. Later on, Prithu Maharaj had a vision of how he could restructure the whole earth. He flattened the lands, he structured the cities, he made a whole vision of how the citizens will be cared for many, many generations to come. Later on, we see Prithu Maharaj's vision when he's trying to do the 100 sacrifices, but Indra steals the final horse. And then finally, Prithu Maharaj realizes, he gets the vision, I need to just look beyond all of this. I need to look beyond Indra's nefarious activities. I need to not be degraded down to his level. Let it go. Vision. You're able to let things go when you can see there's a bigger vision to aim for. But when we don't have a vision, we hold on to little things. So let it go. It's okay. We've got something much greater we have to aim for. So you can see how in all of Prithu Maharaj's activities, he was a real visionary. So if we want to be leaders, we've got to inspire. And inspiration comes when we have vision. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, I'll stop here and see whether you have any questions or comments on leadership, vision, Prithu Maharaj, or anything that has been mentioned here today.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for that wonderful discussion on leadership. In a general way, everything you describe seems to point to a kind of singular leadership, like a person who does something. How does that work in a community, society like ISKCON, where you have many people, and imagine all being leaders, all having all those qualities? How would all that work together? Thank you.
Yes. So I talked about vision very much as one person's vision. And how does it work in a community where we have many people who have many visions? Therefore, there must be leadership. The ultimate leadership comes from Srila Prabhupada, because Prabhupada gave the 7 purposes of ISKCON. So the vision is already there. Srila Prabhupada has given it. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. But then Srila Prabhupada has given a very high level vision, and then every individual community has to see how to fulfill those purposes. So now in some communities there may be one leader. We see that around the world, that there's one spiritual leader often in many communities. And actually you see where there is one spiritual leader, then amazing things happen, because everyone is aligned and everyone is moving in the same direction. And everyone knows what the goal is. And when there is some confusion, then there's one person to resolve everything. And so actually in Vedic society it would generally work like that. That there would be one spiritual leader who would guide a community, and then amazing things would happen. Now in many places around the world in our communities, we see that there is not one spiritual leader, but there is perhaps many prominent leaders in that place. So then what we have to create in such places is a shared vision. Therefore then all of those individuals who have a say in the vision of that particular community have to come together and create a shared vision. And perhaps this is one of the problems that we have in many of our communities, that we're not able to come up with a shared vision. And therefore what happens in communities is that we're moving in all directions. And sometimes all the directions are competing with the other directions. Sometimes it feels like we go to temples and there are temples within the temple. Competition, stepping on each other's feet, not synergizing. And therefore there requires to be great cooperation and great coordination. So somehow if there's not one person who's creating the vision, then there has to be a shared vision. But without vision, we can't move. If you don't know where you're going and what you're trying to achieve, how can you really make any significant progress? It's just common sense. Oftentimes you'll find this in management meetings, that there are arguments. It happens sometimes. Why do we argue in management meetings? There could be many reasons, but one of the main reasons is that there's no vision that everyone ascribes to. In other words, when you get 10 people in a meeting who each have their own vision, then of course they're going to differ on what the decision should be, because they're all trying to reach a different destination. But you'll find when you come into a management meeting, even though we may be a variety of personalities, if at least we agree on what the vision is, if at least we agree on where we're trying to get to, at least we agree on a universal reference point, then it's much easier to come towards a unified decision. But oftentimes we can't do that because there is no vision. And so many communities struggle with this. So yes, there must be vision. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going. Is that okay? Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Can you just touch on the point of leading as a junior? Like for myself, I'm a young person. There's many seniors in ISKCON. And obviously, maybe I'll notice something, but I'm like, how do I become a leader without causing offense to the already established leaders and their vision? How can I add value to that without stepping on anyone's toes?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a young person.
Yeah. So what about when we're in a community, we may have a vision, but we're young, we're early in that community, we don't want to overstep the mark. See, everyone should have a vision of how they want to serve Srila Prabhupada's movement. And then we try to work in the community that we're within. If the time is not right, if we don't have the influence, if we don't have that position in a community to forward what we think could be enhancing to Prabhupada's movement, then we work on our vision internally. For example, Srila Prabhupada had the vision in 1922 that he's going to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. But he couldn't do it immediately for whatever reasons were there. But still, what was he doing? He was investing, he was preparing, he was translating the Bhagavatam, he was learning different things, and he was basically building up to a time when he could fulfill that vision. So visions are not fulfilled overnight. And oftentimes what it requires for one's vision to be fulfilled is that first one must have to do the internal work to prepare themselves to then be a carrier of that vision in the world. And so in the beginning years of our life, in spiritual life, what we're doing is we're preparing ourselves to be carriers of that vision. It's amazing how when Srila Prabhupada wanted to go to America, he didn't just go immediately. What did he do first? He moved to Radha Damodar temple of Vrindavan, and he stayed there for 6 years. He was already old, the clock was already ticking, and seemingly the opportunity was running out, but Prabhupada said, I don't care. I'm going to stay at the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami for 6 years. And there I'm going to write. There I'm going to pray. There I'm going to meditate. There I'm going to draw the mercy of that personality who established the movement of Srimad Mahaprabhu. And by the empowerment of Rupa Goswami, I'll be able to go out and fulfill the vision. So therefore, if the time is not right to externally fulfill that mission, that vision, then one can still be doing many things internally to prepare themselves for that vision. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, if you can't fulfill your complete vision, in whatever small circle of influence you currently have, start working in that circle of influence. And then, if you focus on your circle of influence, then that circle will grow. And then gradually you'll see that you're able to have more and more impact. Does that make sense? Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. The point that you're making about being visionary and the examples that you're giving of Prabhupada are so apt. But is this ability and also that ability to inspire, to be an inspiring leader, is it inherent? Is it karmic, as part of our charisma? How much of it can be developed? How much of it is based on purity and empowerment?
Anyone who's enthusiastic, anyone who's sincere, anyone who is invested heart, mind and soul in what they do for Krishna is inspiring. Every devotee is inspiring, has the potential to be inspiring. So the first thing is that to be inspiring is something every devotee can do. But yes, there may be some people who have that karma, that they can strategize, that they can organize, that they can galvanize many people, that they can bring together different parts of a community and get them to synergize. That may be a karmic ability. So therefore, yes, some are destined to be big leaders. But ultimately, everyone can be inspiring. And if you're inspiring, then you're a leader without a title. And so that's why I said everyone is a leader, because everyone can be inspiring. But yes, there will be leaders on different scales. And it is sometimes karmic. For example, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had one disciple, very illustrious, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Prabhupada appreciated him very much. So one time Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he had his astrology done, his astrological chart. So one time he was sitting in the math and he had his astrological chart on the table, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur walked past. And of course Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was an expert astrologer. So he just glanced at his chart. He glanced at Sridhar Maharaj's chart and he said, actually your purity is beyond compare. And then Bhaktisiddhanta looked at his chart and he said, but because of this malefic influence in your chart, you won't have much influence. That's what he told him. He said, you are not destined to become a big leader, but your purity is unparalleled. Therefore, in the Gaudiya Math, everyone had so much respect for Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. He was Prabhupada also, he said. He is an incredible person. But Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj never emerged as that kind of person who was a leader of many. So in this way we can see everyone has a different plan for each person. And sometimes even someone we think is not a big leader, they are also having an incredible impact in their own way. Just by being pure and inspired. For example, His Grace Aindra Prabhu. Someone may say he was not a big leader. What did he do? He sat behind a harmonium in Sri Vrindavan Dham and he chanted. But his kirtan has perhaps had the greatest impact on the entire ISKCON movement. Because he did it with purity and inspiration. Because he was excited about Nam Kirtan. Because he was exemplary. Through his words he empowered and he endured all the difficulties of that service. Therefore his service had a global impact. So we don't know who is a leader, who is not a leader. Some may be big, some may be small. Some we may think are small but have an incredible impact. It's said that Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, simply by his chanting of Harinam, he was holding back the influences of Kali Yuga. Simply by his Nam Seva, when he put his hand in the bead bag, it was stopping the effects of Kali Yuga. That's big preaching. Someone may say, oh, Bhajananandi. Yes, we don't know. So everyone can be inspiring. And in that way, you can be a leader with a title, or you can be a leader without a title. So, yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your inspiring discourse. The Vedic system is a vibrant autocracy. How do we make sure that the principles remain intact and there may be some room for the details to change in terms of strategy? Hare Krishna.
Yes, so there's a particular system of governance in Vedic teachings, and how do we maintain the principles of that and adjust according to the time, place and circumstance? So Prabhupada said, that requires a little intelligence. On the road we can go off on both sides. Sometimes what we do is we stick so much to a Vedic system without understanding the environment that we're operating in that it just becomes irrelevant. And sometimes we adjust so much to the world that we're living in that we lose the essence, we lose the principle. And so somehow or other that balance has to be struck. We live in, the culture that we're surrounded by is a very different culture to the Vedic tradition. And therefore people coming into our movement are conditioned by that culture. And if we immediately try to bring in a very ancient spiritual culture, they may not be ready for that. And therefore we have to be sensitive to that. The second thing is, yes, there is a Vedic society and a Vedic way of management, but those Vedic managers also had a certain caliber. Now we look today, which of our leaders have that kind of caliber? Yes, we can say, these are the duties of a Kshatriya, and these are the powers that a Kshatriya should have. Therefore, I'm now in this position, you should give me these powers. But then are you also like Arjun, who when he couldn't defend the children of the Brahmana, was saying, I failed in my duty, therefore there's only one recourse, I have to kill myself. Do we have leaders who have such conviction? So you can't ask for the powers if you're not willing to take the responsibilities. And therefore, because number one, we're dealing with a different culture, and number two, we're dealing with personalities who are of a different caliber, we can't just take an ancient system and just transplant it. But we can take the principles and then try to relevantly apply it so that we benefit from that authentic system. So I'm giving a general answer because each place is different and requires different. But yes, the essence is the essential thing is to preserve and adapt simultaneously.
No. Since you spoke about Ayindra Prabhu, who is Ayindra Prabhu actually?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So Ayindra Prabhu was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada who moved to Sri Vrindavan Dham in the 80s. And Srila Prabhupada had given an instruction that in Sri Vrindavan Dham there should be kirtan going on for around the clock, Akhanda Kirtan, 24 hours. So Ayindra Prabhu, there were some attempts to do that before him, but he was the one who really took on that task to make sure that in our Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, that there would be kirtan going on around the clock. So his love for the holy name, his love for Sri Vrindavan Dham, his conviction in the need for devotees to really take shelter of Nam, or Krishna's holy name, really had a worldwide impact on ISKCON.
Just to, if you don't mind, with your consent, if I can just add a little bit more. I'm reading the book Kirtan Revolution, and his brother sent him a letter from the US that his dad is very ill, and he was fighting within himself. Should I go to US or should I remain here? And if I become pure, living in Braj, I'll be able to live all the rest of the family members. So he fought with that for a while in the day, and he went on with his daily duties. And in the night he had a vision that his father is actually a fallen disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So he decided to reply to his brother's letter, and Danudar Maharaj was going to the US. So he arranged some dry tulsi, and he arranged a kantimala for him. And their family had already discussed that the father will be buried next to the mother. The grave was reserved. And he wrote in the letter that they should do cremation. Well, he was still ill at that time when Danudar Maharaj got back to the US, and he followed all his son's instruction. So he's actually, his father is a fallen disciple, but this is the purity that is coming good. And once he left the girlfriend Julie behind, he took seriously to brahmachari life. He even chastised the young boys in Vraj for wearing shorts and walking around. And he even chastised them for sleeping with the shorts. He was a little bit heavy-handed. But he's a wonderful, pure devotee of the Lord. No doubt about that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. You just tell me when we should stop. I don't know. I'm okay, but as you just tell me when we should stop, because I don't know the time schedules here.
I think we'll take last one, Maharaj.
Yeah, sure.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Maharaj. The theme was the visionary. And years ago, we did a course here on Vaishnava Acharyas, life of the Vaishnava Acharyas, and we see throughout the lives of Madhava Acharya to Lord Chaitanya and Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and they all were visionaries, and to an extent, they all had this desire. And even when Srila Prabhupada, his first initial meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta, at that time Prabhupada was, in his college days, he was, I think, very ardent follower of Gandhi's national movement at that time. And when he heard from Bhaktisiddhanta that this movement of Krishna cannot wait for Lord Chaitanya's teaching, cannot wait for who becomes the leader. And then Prabhupada, later he was thinking, he said, this is amazing. And overnight he said, yeah, I met a very saintly person. And, he's thinking about Bhaktisiddhanta. And at that time, Prabhupada, yeah, you were saying it took 40 years from the time the instruction was given, a lifetime in preparation for Prabhupada to come to the West. And of course, he was carrying all the desires and the foresight of the previous acharyas. And I think Prabhupada is glorified for because he fulfilled all the desires of all the acharyas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta. Therefore, he's an amazing Prabhupada's life story.
Yes, like we sing in the morning, Ye prasade pure sarva asha. That all one's spiritual desires are fulfilled when one takes shelter of the spiritual master. So yes, Srila Prabhupada was, if you want to see the life and times of a visionary, then you need to look no further than the life of Srila Prabhupada. So we're so fortunate we have these examples. So let us become visionaries. Everyone is a leader because everyone can inspire. But everyone can inspire only if they have a vision. And therefore, let us not just go along in life waiting for life to happen to us, but let's go on in life and have a vision. Each one of us can take responsibility for some part of Srila Prabhupada's movement. For some people, it will be a whole GBC zone. For other people, it will be a temple. And for some people, it may be a service within a temple. In London, we had one devotee, his name is Prayojana, and he took responsibility that at Bhaktivedanta Manor, anyone who comes should be able to experience the cleanest toilets. And therefore, he took that responsibility that every day the toilets have to be clean. And when we were bhaktas, we were trained to clean the toilets with him. And I tell you, when you clean the toilets with him, it was more complicated than doing a Mangal Arati on the altar. It was scientific. Half this detergent, a quarter of that with hot water, and this has to go first, and then that, and then you use this cloth, and because he really took it serious. And that's perfection. In this movement, nobody's big. One time a devotee said to Prabhupada, "Oh, but he's a big devotee." Prabhupada said, "Big devotee? Narad Muni is big devotee." Narad Muni is big. No one's big. In another sense, nobody's small. Because for Krishna, when someone does something from their heart, that's massive. And therefore in this movement, who's big? Who's small? These are all just things. We all have the opportunity to take responsibility for some part of Prabhupada's movement. And if we do, and we create a vision for it, we'll be inspiring, and we'll inspire other people's hearts. And when we create a community where everyone is inspiring each other, that community can grow to do incredible things. And that's what Prabhupada did. He created a community of inspiration. And therefore, they were just inspiring each other. Some person just got up the next morning and said, "I'm going to France to start a temple." Because that person just did it in Amsterdam. And when they did it in Amsterdam, someone said, "Well, I'm just going to go to Sweden and I'm going to do it there." And because they created a community where everyone was inspired, everyone had a vision, and everyone was coming out of the comfort zone, it created such an energy that it created a Hare Krishna explosion. And that is possible in any generation. But it requires visionaries, and therefore it requires inspired people. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Wish you a wonderful day.
His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj ki. Thank you, Maharaj, for that amazing class.
It's very inspiring. So, dear devotees, Maharaj will be here right up till Monday.
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Rama, Hare Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you so much. So Hare Krishna everyone, good morning, thank you so much for we're continuing our discussion on Prithu Maharaj leadership and how that all relates to all of us. Yesterday we discussed about being a visionary. We read the beautiful verse where it explains how Prithu Maharaj, he was samudra iva durabodha, he was deeper than the ocean. And when one is very deep in their own thoughtfulness, then that depth of their own thought means they can see very, very far. If we're shallow within, then we'll be very, very short-sighted. But when we're very deep, then we can become a visionary. So we talked yesterday about how a leader has to be a visionary, because a leader is meant to inspire, but you can't inspire unless there's a vision. And so we gave many examples of how Srila Prabhupada was the most amazing visionary. He had such a broad vision of what could happen in the world. And we talked about how vision means, number one, you have to be excited. There has to be some amazing thing that you're trying to achieve. And because you're so excited, expanding. It's always a vision which is never static. It's always growing. And exemplary, because it's so amazing and expanding, you're always living it in every thought, word and deed. And not just you, but empowering, because you're so inspired about it, then you're able to implant that vision within others. And enduring in that course of trying to fulfill your vision, there will be many obstacles, but the devotee, the visionary, continues on. And in this way, this is how we become a visionary. And we talked about how everyone is a leader. It doesn't matter if you're big, so-called in a big position or small position, because everyone can inspire everyone else, and therefore everyone should have a vision of how they want to spend their valuable human form of life to serve Krishna. So yesterday we talked about being a visionary, and today we're going to be talking about cultivating integrity. This is very, very important, perhaps the most powerful and one of the hardest things in Kali Yuga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Canto number 4, chapter number 16, entitled Praise of King Prithu by the Professional Reciters. And today we're reading from text number 13. So if you have the phones, you can follow along 4, 16, 13. I'll just read it myself because everyone doesn't have. Nadandyam dandayat yesha sutam atma dvishamapi dandayatyatmajam api dandyam dharmapate stita. Nadandyam dandayat yesha sutam atma dvishamapi dandayatyatmajam api dandyam dharmapate stita. So you can repeat after me. Na, not. Adandyam, not punishable. Dandayati, punishes. Esha, this king. Sutam, the son. Atmadvisham, of his enemies. Api, even. Dandayati, he punishes. Atmajam, his own son. Api, even. Dandyam, punishable. Dharmapate, on the path of piety. Stitaha, being situated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Since this king will always remain on the path of piety, he will be neutral to both his son and the son of his enemy. If the son of his enemy is not punishable, he will not punish him. But if his own son is punishable, he will immediately punish him. This is integrity. Purport. These are the characteristics of an impartial ruler. It is the duty of a king to punish the criminal and give protection to the innocent. King Prithu was so neutral that if his own son were punishable, he would not hesitate to punish him. On the other hand, if the son of his enemy were innocent, he would not engage in some intrigue in order to punish him. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurudmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada Ki. So just to give you the context of what's happening in the Bhagavatam, Vena was creating so many atrocities in the world, so the sages killed him. But they went from one problem to another. Although he was a bad ruler, still at least there was a ruler. But when they killed him, there was no ruler. So that created its own problems. And therefore the sages began to churn the body of Vena. And from the body of Vena, from his two arms, came Prithu and Archie. And when they appeared in the sacrificial arena, then everyone could understand, oh yes, the Lord has appeared, Shaktyavesh Avatar. And therefore all the eminent personalities in the sacrificial arena began to understand that this is the Supreme Lord who has appeared, and he will now become the ideal ruler. And therefore what they began to do is they began to glorify Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj said, why are you glorifying me? I haven't done anything yet. Has it ever happened to you that sometimes people start glorifying you for something you didn't do? So the tendency is just to say like, okay, be quiet, let them speak, and massage the ego, even though in your heart you know, I didn't do any of this. So Prithu Maharaj is saying, but I haven't done anything yet. How can you start glorifying me? The bards, the professional reciters, they said, no, we understand you are the Supreme Lord. Prithu Maharaj said, no, you should not glorify me yet. Let me first do something. In Vedic teachings it said, Pratistadi Sada Kumari. Kumari means a young unmarried girl, and Pratistadi means fame. So in Vedic aphorism it said, Pratistadi Sada Kumari. Fame is always like a young unmarried girl. Why? Because a young unmarried girl, if anyone is very interested in her, she will run away. And if someone is not interested in her, then she will run towards them. So then she stays unmarried. Because everyone who wants to marry her, she runs away, and everyone she wants to marry, they run away. So fame is said to be like this. Anyone who wants fame, anyone who wants to be recognized, anyone who wants to be the center of attention, fame will run away from them. And someone who doesn't want fame, someone who wants to be in the back, someone who doesn't want to be in the spotlight, the highlight, fame will run after them only. So therefore Prithu Maharaj said, no, don't glorify me. But they did not listen. They just continued to glorify him. When someone appreciates us, what is the Vaishnav way to receive appreciation? Number one, we look at ourselves and we say, actually what they're appreciating, I don't have it, but they're telling me what I should become. So when someone glorifies you, you can just close your eyes and say, now they are reminding me what I should become. Or the second way to receive appreciation from the Vaishnav point of view is when someone glorifies us, rather than thinking of the words that they're using to glorify us, we take their words and we get more appreciation for them because we see that this is a manifestation of their great generosity and graciousness and good vision. And therefore when they appreciate us, all that's happening is we're increasing our appreciation for them. That's another way a Vaishnav can receive appreciation. And the third way a Vaishnav receives appreciation is that they see all of these words and all of these qualities that they're seeing within me are a manifestation of all the blessings that I've received from my superiors. And therefore, when they're appreciating us, what's happening? Our appreciation for who is increasing? Our seniors, everyone that has invested in us. So do you begin to see how this is the way to receive appreciation without becoming drowned by it? If we think, yes, this is me, finally, they have seen the light, they have understood my glory, then it's all over. So we should understand, no, this is the way to receive appreciation. So Prithu Maharaj is a wonderful example, see, how he's receiving appreciation. So this section is very, very powerful because it shows us that the Vaishnav, they are very concerned that their thoughts, their words, their activities, and how other people perceive them should all be in one line. What is very, very disturbing for a Vaishnav is if they see that their mind, their words, their activities, and how other people see them, there is some discrepancy between it. If there is discrepancy between it, then what they see that as a lack of integrity, and they must immediately correct it. Integrity means that your word, mind, activities and perceptions of yourself are all in one line. But hypocrisy, duplicity means that there is some discrepancy in this. So King Prithu, he has so much integrity. See, here in the verse it's saying that his integrity is such that if his own son is meant to be punished, he will not hesitate. And if he's in a position to punish the son of his enemy, isn't it? Sometimes you want to get your own back. So then you will use your position to put someone into difficulty who is not meant to go through that difficulty. He said he will never do anything wrong. This is integrity. This is good character. In Kali Yuga, the biggest problem is that we don't have integrity. We say one thing, we do another thing, and we try to show ourselves as something else. So this is the disease of Kali Yuga. One time, a person had some doubts about Srila Prabhupada. So he said, this guru has become so big, but I'm sure there's some discrepancy in his integrity. So he said, I'm going to drive him around all week, pretend to be a servant, but undercover, observe what goes on behind the scenes. So he drove Srila Prabhupada around for 1 week, morning to evening, place to place, in every forum. And then he came back after 1 week and he said, definitely this person is a sadhu. I said, wow. How did you come to that conclusion? He said, because I observed this person from morning to evening, and they were never trying to impress anyone. Never superficial, never pretentious, never trying to show themselves as something they're not, just living a life of integrity. What you see is what you get. This is integrity. So in communities for leaders, the biggest quality is that you have to have integrity. Yesterday we talked about being a visionary. So yes, a leader is a visionary. A leader is also having great knowledge. A leader can have amazing qualities and abilities. But if they don't have integrity, nobody will follow them. Without good character, nobody's heart will be moved. Without that sincerity being visible within someone, that they're totally non-hypocritical and non-duplicitous, without that you can't be a powerful leader. It's not possible. Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki. In the spiritual path, tomorrow we're going to be discussing Madhurya Kadambini, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the spiritual journey starts with what step? Ado? Shraddha. In the beginning, there must be faith. Without faith, you can't go on any journey. And without faith, someone can't take you on any journey. Therefore, the building block of everything in the world is faith. Shraddha. Rid means the heart, and dha means to place. So Shraddha literally means to put your heart into something. But you can't put your heart into something, you can't have faith unless somebody builds that faith. So leaders are basically faith builders. And the best way to build faith in other people is through our own character and our own conduct. One time there's a Puranic story that Kali told their agents, I want you to go out in the world and spread my influence. So one of the agents of Kali went, and then Kali asked, what did you do to spread my influence? And the person said, I induced one man to steal from the shop. He said, you did okay. Then another agent went out and he came back, and Kali said, what did you do to spread my influence? He said, I induced a man to cheat on his wife. He said, you did better. Then the third agent went out, and Kali said, what did you do to spread my influence? He said, I induced a sadhu to break his vows. Kali said, you did the best. You did the best. Because by inducing a saintly person to compromise vows, what you've done in the world is you've created an atmosphere of doubt. And when people doubt, then there's no shraddha, there's no faith. And when there's no faith, ado shraddha, then you can't begin the spiritual path. So the way that Kali Yuga perpetuates is by creating doubt within a community. And the way that Kali Yuga is counteracted is by creating faith within a community. And how is that faith created? By people who live with integrity. And therefore, this is the biggest advertisement for the Krishna consciousness movement, is the spotless character of the devotees in this movement. Yes, we can have the highest philosophy. Yes, we can have so many amazing projects and properties to show people. Yes, we can speak and present in many, many wonderful ways. But if we don't have integrity, ultimately it won't build any faith in anyone. Jayananda Prabhu was an incredible devotee. He had such integrity and such purity. And he would go anywhere and everywhere to collect for Rath Yatra. So he would go to all the places that nobody else would go, and he would go to all the people that nobody else could deal with, and by his purity and his charm, he was able to touch so many people's hearts. So every year he used to go to this lady in the municipality who would give the permit for Rath Yatra. And she was she had some animosity towards the devotees, but somehow Jayananda, by his love, by his purity, by his kindness, by his character, he conquered her heart. He would bring her prasadam, then finally she would give the permit, like that. And then after Jayananda passed away, the next year the devotees went to her to get the permit. So when they came, she said, why are you here? Where's my friend, Johnny Ananda? Johnny Ananda? Oh, you mean Jayananda. So she was a very heavy person. So she said, where is he? I want to see him. They said, no, he's passed away. And she began crying. She said, him? Johnny Ananda? He was the nicest person I met. He was such a saint. And then she said something amazing. She said, I don't know what you guys do all day. I don't know what you guys believe in. I don't know what your teachings are. I don't know what your lineage or tradition is. But one thing I can say is if that guy, Jayananda, if he's with you, you must be good. That's amazing. That's a devotee. Their character is what convinces people about Krishna consciousness. When we joined the temple, one of our Bhakta leaders said, the measure of whether you're becoming a devotee is if you go out into the world without this dress. I don't mean naked, but in normal dress. Imagine you went out without any tilak. Imagine you went out without any devotional markings. Imagine you went out with any of the external identifications of Krishna consciousness. He said, would people be able to identify this is a monk? This is a saintly person. Just by the way they interact with others, just by the way they carry themselves in their activities, just by the way they deal with the world, we can understand this is a saintly person. That is how you know you're a devotee. A devotee is not just what they do. A devotee is who they are. Yes, I'm a devotee, I chant 16 rounds, very good. Yes, I'm a devotee, I know all the verses, very good. But the character, that is really, when they ask Srila Prabhupada, how do you know who is a Vaishnav? Prabhupada could have said so many things. What did Srila Prabhupada say? They are a perfect gentleman. Gentleman or gentle lady. And perhaps in our movement, some of this has been lost. This emphasis on actually being a Vaishnav of good character, a Vaishnav of integrity. It's very interesting actually. Being exemplary is an amazing service. Shall I tell you why? Being exemplary is a service which is universal. Anybody can do it. Some people can give class, some people can't. Some people can manage, some people can't. Some people can cook, some people can't. I.e. me. But being a good example, everyone can do. It's the only service in the Krishna consciousness movement, probably, and a few others of course, that everyone can do. It's universal. Shall I tell you why it's also amazing service? It's powerful. Because it's the service that will move people's hearts in ways that other services wouldn't move their heart. When you see someone of ideal character, of purity, of integrity, it moves your heart. When Rupa and Sanatan came to meet Sriman Mahaprabhu, or when Mahaprabhu came to meet them at Ramakeli, then Mahaprabhu was just looking at their character. And he initiated them. He said, Aji hoete dunhar naam Rupa Sanatan, Dainya Chadi Jainya Tomar Fatemo Raman. Mahaprabhu said, Aji hoite, from today, Donha Rup Naam Rupa Sanatan, your names will be Rupa and Sanatan. And then what did Mahaprabhu say? Dainya Chadi, please, I'm begging you, Rupa and Sanatan, I'm begging you, Dainya Chadi, give up your humility. Fate Mora Man, your humility is breaking my heart. So Mahaprabhu didn't literally mean give up your humility, but he was saying, your humility is, like sometimes you see the sun is so shining, is so beautiful, it's so effulgent that you can't even look at it directly. So their humility was like that. It was so beautiful that Mahaprabhu said, this is moving my heart. Sometimes we do this exercise where we ask people, tell us someone, remember someone in your mind who you really, really admire. And then we ask them, what is it that you admire about them? And almost 100% of the time, people admire someone not because of their achievements, but because of their character. So the second reason by being exemplary is so amazing is because it's so powerful. It leaves an incredible impression in people's hearts. The third reason why being exemplary is such an amazing service is because it's perpetual. It's a service that you never have to give up. Some services after some time, old age, or if there's disease, or if someone better comes along to do the service, then you have to make way. Most of the service in this world you can't carry on throughout your life. After some time they stop. But being exemplary, you can do that from day one to the final day. And being exemplary is also the most incredible service because it can be done at all times, places and circumstances. Yes, you can do pujari service, but that is at a certain time. Yes, you can go out and distribute books, but you can only do it when there are people out there. But being exemplary is a service you can do at every single moment. And therefore Mahaprabhu told the Goswamis, Vaishnavera kritya ar Vaishnava achar. One of my main instructions to you is, be exemplary. Be exemplary in what you do. If every devotee in our community is exemplary and has integrity of character, this movement will fly. And of those devotees in particular, those who are trying to lead others, inspire others, we have to understand that this is our most prized resource, our most prized possession in inspiring the hearts of others. So, yes, character, very, very important. Even if one doesn't have competence, if they have character, everything will come. Like Srila Prabhupada gave the example of two people who came to an interview. And one person came in and they had like the A-star CV, and then they walked out. And then the next person came in. They had 1/4 of the qualifications, and then they walked out. And the manager analyzed, and then he said to the administrator, I'm going to employ the second person. He said, why? The first one has so many qualifications. He said, didn't you see? The first person, when they walked out of the room, when they walked out of the office, what did they do? They left the door open. Whereas the second person, did you see? When they left, they respectfully closed the door. There you go. That's one interview criteria. Next time you go for an interview. So what does that mean? He said that shows that the first person is not conscious, is not aware, is not sensitive, is not respectful. The second person, they may be lacking in some competence, but because they have good character, I can teach them anything. Therefore, character over competence. This is our movement. And so Krishna consciousness is not just working on activities, it's working on character and consciousness. Sometimes we don't change our character because we think our character is fine. Sometimes we don't change our character because we think my character will change automatically by the process of Krishna consciousness. I don't need to do anything. Sometimes we don't, when it comes to character, we think my character is so bad I can't change it. Sometimes we just think my character, that's too painful to change. So there are many, many reasons why we circumvent working on our own character and integrity. But from Prithu Maharaj's example, and from all the examples of Shastra, we see integrity and character is most important. Yesterday was Sita Nomi, And why did Sri Ram, why did he do this whole pastime of banishing Sita Devi? It's heartbreaking. But why did he do it? Because he said, as a leader, there cannot be anything which causes people to doubt my integrity. That's how high he placed it on the order of importance, that he was even willing to banish Sita, because he said, I have a job, I'm a leader, and as a leader, people have to have faith in me. And people will only have faith in me if there's complete integrity. So anyone in leadership position, even in Chaitanya Charitamrita it said, Sanyasira alpa chidra sarvaloka gai shukla vastra. He said the life of a sannyasi or any leader is like a shukla vastra. It's like a white piece of cloth. And if there's one spot, Sanyasira alpa chidra sarva loka gai, then the whole world will speak about it. That's how it goes. So it's a grave responsibility, and it's perhaps the most challenging, because of course we look and we see that we are weak, but this is the greatest service, to be a good example, to try to be embody integrity, and in this way we can inspire many, many people, and especially those in leadership positions must be very, very transparent in everything they do, because in this age there's just an air of suspicion. They say followers doubt everything and leaders do doubtful things. So to follow someone in this age is very difficult, because we're constantly suspicious. Oh, I don't know the way his tilak is. It makes me doubt. What? Tilak makes you doubt someone? Yes, I've seen before. So we doubt everything. And then when leaders do doubtful things, then it just adds to the suspicion, the skepticism of the whole environment. But remember, without this faith, when there is an amazing relationship between followers and leaders, then amazing things happen. It's said that the respect of the follower should flow up like smoke, and the grace of the leader should flow down like a waterfall. When there's this natural flowing of respect and this natural empowerment of grace that comes down, then amazing things happen between followers and leaders. Just look at how amazing things happen between Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, because Srila Prabhupada was of spotless integrity and they followed him. Then amazing things happened. But when there is this block between followers and leaders, then nothing amazing can happen. Therefore, this integrity and purity of character is so, so important. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll stop here and see whether anyone may have any questions or comments, or if there's anything I said which you would like to know more about, then we can take some questions.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj. I think that sometimes when we begin spiritual life and we start the do's and the don'ts, do this, don't do that, and then we develop that this is what being a devotee means, but soon there becomes a drift between where I am at and what a pure devotee is. And because there's so many levels in between, being exemplary is such a blanket cover in terms of, when I think about it, there's so many things to do to be exemplary that it's exhausting. and then balancing that, well, not balancing that, but encountering that with our conditioning makes me think, can I be exemplary at this point?
So being exemplary feels like purity feels like it's so multi-layered. There's so many aspects, so many facets of our lives, and sometimes we feel very far away from that. And then we feel that to be exemplary is very, very tiring and unsustainable. So how do we approach that? Yes, therefore it's not a question of an overnight fix. Progress over perfection. In other words, Srila Prabhupada said, this life is like a block of hardwood, and somehow or other you have to carve Krishna out of it. So when a sculptor comes to sculpt something, they don't just try to finish it up in one day. They realize they're chipping away bit by bit, part by part. It's a gradual process. And therefore what we're trying to do is move more towards being aligned with our principles. We're trying to, bit by bit, see aspects of our life that we can actually work on and bring more in line with the words of Shastra and the ideals of what a devotee should be. They say we underestimate what we can do in 5 years and we overestimate what we can do in 1. Because our tendency is always to try to do everything too quickly, and then we just feel exhausted and we break down. But if we understand that we work at this consistently, that it's a constant theme within us, that I have to become more and more aligned with the principles that I hold in my heart. Actually, being exemplary is not tiring. Being fake is tiring. Because we think our conditioned personality to be who we are, and because we've been rooted in that for so long, we feel a certain comfort in it. But actually, the most comfortable thing is to be situated in who you actually are. However, it almost feels like an oxymoron, but we have to learn to be natural. And therefore, in that beginning phase of breaking through, there's a certain amount of unnaturality and hard work that one seemingly has to do. But then it becomes very, very beautiful to just live like that. Like when you're humble, it's so liberating. Yet we always struggle to come to that point of actually taking the humble position. But the amazing thing is, when you become humble, it's so liberating. Because there's no expectation, there's no letdown, there's no frustration. You just kind of live life free of this heavy burden of what you think people should do to you and how you think people should be around you. It's such a beautiful experience. It's joyful insignificance. It's just beautiful. It's amazing. You know, so one devotee told me, if you're not perfect, you should be humble. But the moment you're humble, you're perfect. In other words, in that humility, we already feel the perfection, because we now no longer need to be something. We're just dependent on Guru Gauranga and the Vaishnavas. So yes, we have to understand that being exemplary is actually the greatest. Prabhupada often told his leaders, it's the greatest boon that you're a leader, because now you're forced to be exemplary. And we can feel that force to be a burden, but in Prabhupada's eyes, he says that's actually the greatest boon, because it will help you to actually move towards your most natural state. So, it's like living in an ashram. Sometimes it feels tiring to just constantly be around people. Just like, oh my God, like I need a break from these people, you know. But then I realized after many years, it's scientific to live in a communal atmosphere and constantly have people around you and have no private space. Because there's someone that's constantly there. Like even when you're in the bath, someone's like right there, One devotee was in the bath, like you're constantly available. People can always find you. So there was one manager, he was a brahmachari, he was in the shower, so it's like the one private time you get in the shower, then one devotee said, no, Prabhu, yeah, I need this signed. So the devotee in the shower, he said, I'm in the shower. The devotee said, yeah, I don't mind. You can do it in the shower. He said, you may not mind. Well, I mind. I want some private space here, But then I realized it's such an amazing thing to constantly be surrounded by people because you're forced. They say you know where you're really at in 2 times. What you do when you're in suffering and what you do when you're alone. In those 2 times, the real thing comes out. So therefore I realized it's such a boon to live in a communal because then you're forced to. And then you realize it's actually nice to live a pure life. Like when we're around others in japa time, definitely we won't go to sleep, because I don't go to sleep in japa. I'm a serious sadhaka. But behind closed doors, it's all going on. So then we realize it's very good to chant with the devotees, yes, even if I'm doing it, just to, at least I stay awake and I catch the vibration and then maybe some attraction will come. Then it's actually nice to be awake in japa. Yeah, maybe I should be awake. See? So it takes time to come to that point of wanting to be exemplary. You have to push through. It's the most natural thing. It's beautiful. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Regarding good character not being a fake, I'm reminded of one class you gave in Sweden last year. I'll just read this quickly. Where you quoted Chanaka Pandit in Nidhi Sastra, listing the following item: be satisfied with your spouse, your wealth, and the mercy of prasadam you receive, and be dissatisfied with the knowledge you have, charity you're currently giving, and japa you're currently doing. If you can explain that a bit more, if you don't mind, in relation to good character. Thank you.
So Chanakya Pandit says there are 3 things you should be satisfied with: your spouse, your wealth, and whatever prasadam you get. In Durban, that one's not hard. And then Chanakya Pandit says there's 3 things you should always be dissatisfied with: your learning, your chanting of the holy name, and your charity. Devotee never thinks they've learned enough. They never think they've given enough. So, yes, a devotee is always trying to go deeper into these practices. Because a devotee has so much appreciation for Krishna. No amount of charity will be enough. Whatever I've given, it's not enough. It's just, I have to give more, I have to do more. Because a devotee's appreciation of Krishna is always increasing, it's never static. And because the appreciation is increasing, one's feeling that I need to give more is also increasing. If our feeling that we should give more, if that feeling is not there, then it means our appreciation for Krishna has become static. We're not growing. Therefore, Prabhupada never stopped giving. I mean, it's just incredible to just see Prabhupada in the final days just translating. I mean, you could just say like, okay, it's all right, you've given so much. No, I have to give more. I cannot stop. That's amazing. Because the appreciation for Krishna is constantly growing. Our desire to learn Shastra is always growing. Because one philosopher says, when you know a little, then you think you know a lot. But when you know more, then you realize you don't know anything at all. And therefore Shastra is like an ocean. As you go in, then you begin to realize how deep it is, and therefore you feel impelled, I must go deeper. And as you go deeper, you realize it's even expanding more. I need to go deeper. Like this. So yes, a devotee is always growing. There's no end. There's no end to the growth of a devotee. That's the beautiful thing about Krishna consciousness. There's always something to wake up and strive for. So yes, this is the mentality of a true devotee. Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this question is from one of the devotees of viewing online. Hare Krishna Maharaj, what happens if we see a leader lacking integrity and leads with some duplicitousness? Is it our right to correct them, as by them being a leader makes them already senior?
Already senior. So if one sees something within a leader, a lack of integrity, something that may need correction, what should they do? Because that leader is most likely to be their senior. The first thing, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that when faults in others misguide you and bewilder you, then be patient, pause, introspect, and look for faults within yourself. Nobody can harm you unless you harm yourself. So the very first thing we should do when we see faults, whether it be in a leader or anyone else, is we should reflect and first see whether that is also within us. Generally, whatever we see in others, there is some element of that within us as well. And so that's the first thing that a devotee does. They use the faults of others to first inform themselves and help themselves become more introspective about their own mentality. So that's where we begin. Then the second thing is that one should always have a balanced view. The tendency is when we see a fault, we jump on it. There could be 100 good things, but then when we see one bad thing, immediately we zone into that. They say we're judges for other people's mistakes, but we're lawyers when it comes for our own. So we tend to be very, very judgmental very, very quickly. Yes, someone may have done so many things good, but then when they do one bad thing, then we write them off immediately just for that. So that we have to be careful of. Third thing is that if there is indeed something which needs to be addressed, then one must do it in the appropriate culture. And that means if there is some feedback to give, you have to ask the questions. Am I the right person? Is this the right time? Have I got the right mood? Have I got all the right information? All of these things have to be judged and assessed. And then yes, there may be a case to give the feedback, but the feedback is given in the right way, with the right mood, through the right person, with the right culture. Because otherwise you can give people feedback, but if you don't give them feedback in the right way, in the right mood, through the right person, then they may not be able to benefit from that feedback. Then what's the point of your feedback? Because it hasn't actually helped anyone. So yes, we're not supposed to walk around the world being blind. We see things, and we're living in Kali Yuga, so people are going to be weak. They're going to make mistakes. But let us see it all in a balanced and mature way, and when things need to be addressed, address it in an appropriate way. Because if someone does something wrong and you try to correct it, but you do it in the wrong way, you become implicated in the whole thing as well. So therefore, we should do it very, very carefully.
Just one more question, online viewers. This question is from Yamunotri Devidasi from Newcastle. Hare Krishna Maharaj, the youth have a different trajectory compared to our generation. How do we become inspiring leaders in ISKCON to change that trajectory and make the connection that you spoke about?
We often try to separate generations. Generation Z, Generation Y, the millennials. And then we define each generation in a certain way. This generation is like this, and this generation is like this. But every generation is connected. So if we see a deficiency in one generation, then we must conclude there's something of the previous generation that is also contributing to that. Because one generation is simply the product of the generation before. Like in the manner, the parents come and drop their children. Yes, you must learn Bhagavad Gita. So they come in the morning and they drop all their kids. And then what do? They drive out of the temple, they go to Cine World to watch a Bollywood movie, they go shopping, they go to the golf course, and then they come back in the evening to pick them up. Did you learn Bhagavad Gita? We're learning. Then I tell the parents, we can teach them something. Yes, of course, we will teach them, definitely. But they're going to learn more from what they see you doing every single day. So we tend to say, our generation, and in my generation. Yes, that's true. But we are also shapers of the future generation. And therefore, we have to instill that in the next generation by being good examples, by practicing what we preach. Like the person came to Gandhi and said, no, tell my son, too many sweets, tell him, stop eating so many sweets. Gandhi said, come back in 2 weeks. So they came back in 2 weeks. Gandhi told him, you stop eating so many sweets. Why didn't you tell him 2 weeks ago? I was eating too many sweets myself. So again, it comes back to the same thing. We have to embody what we seek to teach others. This is what Acharya means. We say if you take Achar out of Prachar, then it's simply PR. Understand? Prachar means my preaching. Prachar. But if you take Achar, if you don't embody it, if you don't live it, if you don't show it from morning to evening and even behind closed doors when nobody is looking at you, then if you take that Achar out, it's simply PR. It's just a message, like all the media messages out there that are lacking in substance. So it's a grave responsibility. We are the advertisement of the Hare Krishna movement. Because people will get our books, people will see our temples, but ultimately they will look at the hearts of every single individual who says they're a Hare Krishna. And they will judge our movement not by anything else except the quality of the people who profess to be part of this movement. And therefore, we hold the gravest responsibility to be ambassadors of the Bhagavatam. Because the Bhagavatam is not just the theology of a book, it's a living theology that one must embody in all words, activities and deeds. All right, are we stopping here or is there last? Okay, last question. So sorry, I should add a disclaimer just before the last question. I tend to give classes sometimes. I've been given the feedback that sometimes they seem very high and very one person came to me and said like, Maharaj, after your class I feel like I'm never going to make it. I said, no, that wasn't the intention. So here we have to talk about the ideals, and then we look at ourselves and we say, no. I mean, I am more aware than anyone. I'm here speaking it. So I'm more aware of anyone how much I'm falling short. But we must talk about the ideal, because unless we talk about this and get there, so we have to. Speakers must create a gap between where we are and where we are meant to be. But don't worry, we're all in it together, step by step, progress over perfection.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the most wonderful talk. Maharaj, I want to ask you something that is, maybe I'm doing the mistake myself, right? It's all about the Gayatri. We do Gayatri every day. So, I've observed, some of the devotees doing Gayatri, and I don't know, whether it's right or wrong, whether I'm doing it wrong. Because my Maharaj has taught me that you do not make pa, 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 and tell Gayatri. You tell it within your mind or within your tongue. Close your mouth and tell it. And if you do loudly, then you're initiating everybody, that the ghost and insects and all that is around you, that you initiate them as well. So can you please explain how you do Gayatri?
So His Holiness Sachinanda Maharaj has written a beautiful book called the Gayatri book, and in the final chapters of that book he talks about the actual process of how one should do Gayatri. So we know that there are 3 types of ways to chant a mantra. One is to say it very loudly, vachika. Then there is the second type where you whisper something, just so much, upamshu I think is called. Like how we do japa, and then there is another type of mantra which is manasa, and that must be done within the mind. So yes, Srila Prabhupada taught that the Gayatri mantra is something to do within the mind. Sometimes what devotees do, because we're not so... sometimes the mind is very, very wavering and very, very difficult to focus. So sometimes what I've seen devotees do is that they move their lips, but they don't vibrate anything. They just move their lips. Somehow or other they feel that may help them to be more attentive. So personally I don't do that. It's not for me to judge on that. So maybe they do that. If that's the case, the main thing is that yes, the Gayatri mantra is a manasa mantra. So we do it in the mind. That is, because as you mentioned, it's not a mantra which is meant to be given openly in that way. But for more details, go to Maharaj's book where he gives you the full praman and all the evidence and all the guidelines for chanting Gayatri like that. Is that okay? Alright, thank you so much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Wish you a wonderful day ahead. Hare Krishna.